The Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show is sponsored by Accunet Mortgage, an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 255368, and Accunet Realty Advisors, which is a separate company from but still affiliated with Accunet Mortgage.
Putting a roof over your head without the headache. Get answers to all of your home buying questions. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And our Sunday best to you. Good morning and welcome to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show. I'm Steve Kettler, along with Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors owner and president Brian Wickert and licensed millennial loan consultant David Wickert. As always, if you have questions, we love to take them at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620. Got a lot of great stuff coming up on the show today. We start with those property value estimating websites, which I think all of us have surfed Zillow from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of surprising. I started digging into that this morning, so why don't we go ahead and start there. They publish, I found on their website, they self-evaluate themselves as to how accurate this, and it's called a Zestimate. That's their trademarked name for their automated property valuation. And you can go on there and type in your address. Have you ever done it, Steve? Have you typed
Yeah,
in
I have.
Okay, yeah. And so they advertise that their median error or, you know, variance is 5%.
Like if they were a pollster.
Correct, exactly.
The margin of error.
That's right. So nationwide, they're within 5%. So if you're talking about a 300, that sounds pretty accurate, doesn't it?
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
but
not bad. What do you think?
In real dollars.
In real dollars. Let's talk about real dollars. Let's say you put in your Zestimate and it comes back at 300,000.
Yeah.
That means that it's anywhere between 285 and 315.
Right. Which can be a whole different bracket of house.
Yeah. That's like pretty big, right? Because 5% either way is really 10% overall, right? A 30 grand deal.
There you go.
And then catch this. So when you look at, they actually have the data by county, which is really cool. So let's just take Waukesha County, for example. What percentage of homes do you think are within that 5% range? And what they're doing, by the way, is I think they're looking at if a house actually sells, they say, oh, what did it sell for, and what did we have the Zestimate at before it's sold? So that's how they're doing this.
I'm going to say half.
Okay, half. Steve, what do you think? Are a third, a half, or a quarter within 5%?
In Waukesha?
Yeah, Waukesha County.
Okay, a third.
A third. Okay, well, it's actually 54%. But, you know, what sounds, again, oh, man, over half are within 5%.
Well, but means half of them are outside of 5%. Okay.
So then if you want to get within that 10%, well, how many are within 10%? 77%.
Which is, but as you pointed out, that's really a 20% swing in both directions as an absolute value.
That's correct. Okay.
So my $300,000 house could be worth $270 or $330.
Correct.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a starting point, I guess.
Pretty broad. So it's better than a sharp stick in the eye, as my Uncle Frank would say. You know, it's something, but it's, and really when you're talking about like making an offer on a house, usually you're saying, well, geez, should I, you know, offer $5,000 less or $10,000 less? It's, you know, typically not that big a spread. So you can't hang your hat on it. It is an indication of what value is. It does vary a great deal by county. Just by the way, in Dane County in Wisconsin, that was a really high correlation, or relatively high. 65% of properties in Dane County are within 5% valuation. So you can't hang your hat on it.
Let the record show the only true measurement of price and value is what someone is willing to write an offer on your house for.
Yeah, correct. And you push back from the closing table. All right, now last week, we were lucky enough to have a show, and did I mention we're delighted to have a show this week as well, which means the Packers are playing in the prime spot this afternoon. We're excited about that. We talked about how January is a great time to list your house. Oh, boy, do we have proof of that. I became involved in a transaction yesterday as a buyer's agent. I don't do that very often. And I got to tell you, we'll tell you when we come back from this first break. And by the way, it's a client that David had provided a rock-solid pre-approval on back in November. And what seems to be happening is now that Christmas is over and
the
New
fog
Year's,
has lifted from the holidays.
Oh, my gosh. We got buyers coming out the wazoo. We need more people to list their homes. We'll tell you the story when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Home buying advice from the guys who know it best. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Well, the fallout from that tragic shooting at the Fort Lauderdale airport continues. John McCure and Wisconsin's Afternoon's news crew will have the latest details on that story at 3:10 tomorrow afternoon. It's 10:17. You're listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show here on 620 WTMJ. Brian Wickert and David Wickert with us. Boy, good time to list your home in January.
Yes, sir, because there aren't enough homes for sale, and we are issuing rock-solid pre-approvals by the bucket load here this first week of January already, which is great. And so one of our senior officers of the company, son-in-laws, is the person who David pre-approved, he and his lovely new wife, to go buy a home, and they issued the letter in November, and they've been cruising the internet, looking for suitable houses. And the market is so good that they found this one. Do you remember the acronym FSBO, for sale by owner?
Yeah.
So this one's listed for sale by owner. And
are they just driving around or something?
No,
or
on the internet.
They found it
on
online?
the internet, because you can list your property by yourself on Zillow. That's probably the most popular place people do it. I don't know if they do it on Craigslist or whatever. So I'm on the site. It's in Waukesha County. Low 300s is the price range. It's been on Zillow 4 days. It's already had 1,574 views. 25 shoppers have saved this home, and the guy's got about 6 showings. Okay, this is all without being on the world's most popular.
That's called good problems for the seller. 6 showings, 26 saved. That's good for him.
Correct. Okay, so that goes to show you, how tight the inventory is. And so I don't do this very often. So don't call me and ask me to be your buyer's agent, because I won't do it.
Because the only other people were me and my sister. So.
Yeah, that's right. And myself.
And
me, myself, and my kids. And but I agreed to do it because a really close friend and colleague of mine. And by the way, I did a good job. Put together the offer. Looked at our 7 things to always remember, never forget, what to leave and take out of a contract. So they're going to go look at it for a second time today, and it's going to be competitive. So they're kind of asking me, "What do you think of the value?" And I said, I think you should make him a full price offer, because I'll bet he gets, multiple offers. It looks, reasonable. I'm really bad at estimating property values, just by the way. But, just based on what I saw in the neighborhood of similar homes that have sold, we're barking up the right tree. I said, just rely on your appraisal contingency. Because remember, in Wisconsin, you have the option to check a little box that says, if the house doesn't appraise at the value that we agreed on, I can back out. Mm-hmm. David, you'll also be proud of me, since you're the loan officer on this deal. I did not include the pool table.
Thank you.
In the offer. Why is that, David? Why can't you include
the
pool table?
That is the classic definition of chattel, which are things not affixed to the home.
That's right. And so we kind of have this weird blurry vision when it comes to chattel versus real estate, because we do allow people to include the refrigerator that's not attached to the home.
Okay.
And we allow them
to just be hard to move, that's all.
Oh, well, and so is a pool table. But for some reason, mortgage owners are like, refrigerators are cool. Washer and dryer, that I included. You can move those.
Okay.
But that's in there. That's just considered normal for some reason.
But you're saying when they're writing this offer, they have to be their most attractive version of themselves, because there's 6 other people who might be writing offers on this house.
Correct. And it's too new in the process for this guy. In my mind, when I look at a situation like this, they're in the low 300s. It's like that guy wants to get an offer that starts with the number 3.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the number 3, by the way, in another segment of the show, with those millennials in that out-of-state deal who locked in the rate, or who were waiting to lock in the rate. We're going to come back to that story in a little while. But at any rate, the seller wants to get an offer that starts with the number 3. I think it would be a mistake for them to offer in the 2s.
Correct.
Even if it's $295 or $299.
It doesn't feel the same.
Exactly. And so that was my advice, is take a look at it. But I gave them all the comps, from the neighborhood. I think there were 9 that sold in the last year, similar 2-story kind of deals. So we'll see what they decide to do. I thought it was a lovely home, just looking at the pictures online.
Well, and we had a story this week closing at the Accunet World Headquarters in Butler. The seller asked to meet you.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I required my buyer to deliver to me a rock-solid pre-approval before I would accept their offer.
Well, and you're retelling me telling you the story, so let me just refine that a little bit. The seller was so smart because he's a regular listener to the show. Tom, we said we'd give you a shout-out. Here's your shout-out. He educated his real estate agents.
Oh.
Remember, he was the seller because he got this offer. I think it was 5% down. And the real estate agents were telling the seller, well, now we got to get through financing. And Tom said to them, don't worry. This is a rock-solid pre-approval that I'm looking at here. I have no concerns about this 5% down deal. Now, yesterday was a busy day. Yeah. In the afternoon, I got a call from a very seasoned real estate professional, friend of ours, Bonnie Melchor from Shore West, who had a buyer ready to write an offer, but there was a problem with that buyer's pre-qualification letter. We'll tell you what that was and what we did about it when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour on 620 WTMJ.
Getting you into the home of your dreams. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Few players still on the Packers roster from their 2011 Super Bowl win. Does Morgan Burnett think this team could make it that far? Don't miss Packers One-on-One with Greg Matzik at noon today. Sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, New Generation RV, and Sound Decisions Racine. Brian Wickert and David Wickert are with us here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour as we focus back in on those rock-solid pre-approvals and how important that can be.
Yeah, I was on my way to go to the annual round robin with the guys and gals from our disco band from the 70s and 80s. We still get together. By the way, I hold in my hand right here a very unique item. I'm going to take a picture of this and maybe post it somewhere. It's a ham carving device that I can't wait to show you. Okay, anyway, we do a white elephant gift. Back to the main story. My phone rings as I'm in the car driving to this thing, and sure enough, it's a guy who is working with Bonnie Melchor, a longtime agent with Shore West Realtors. And he says, I'm working with Bonnie Melchor, and she told me I had to call you because we're about to write an offer, and I have this pre-qualification letter from Chase Bank. And Bonnie says it is very weakly worded. Flimsy, like we like to call it. It's a flimsy bank pre-approval. You could drive a truck through that thing. There's so many holes in it. And she said it's going to be a competitive, bidding. We think there's going to be more than offers. And she says it would really be helpful in our negotiation if we had a rock-solid pre-approval from Accunet.
Nice.
Can you do it? And I'm like, well, actually, no, but I can't because I'm in the car, right? So I said, but let me call around. Luckily, I have a squadron of, 11 licensed loan consultants. Surely let me find one. And I called David. He was available. And, David, go ahead. What'd you do?
Well, so we hopped on the phone and did the normal routine of putting together the blueprint of good documentation, because that's what mortgage lending is in 2017, proving, hey, the income you're going to use to pay back the house and the funds you're going to use to make the down payment, they were about as rock solid as it gets.
That's right. And David happened to have gone to high school with this kid. What are the chances of that?
It's proving it's a small world.
Small world. And he happened to be able to upload his pay stub and his bank statement to show that he had. So, we verify the credit. And the other key I want to make sure that people understand of really having confidence in a pre-approval is a really good interview process. It's the questions that we train our loan consultants to ask to ferret out the problems that have arisen in the thousands and thousands of transactions that we've done to make sure we're not going to trip. So it's really not just the verification itself, it's asking the questions.
Correct.
One of the things that has come up time and again, and it's rare, but it's really a problem, is if a person works at a company, but they work through a temp agency or an outsourcing, that can be fatal to your pre-approval. So if you just ask somebody or you fill out online with, the guys with the nation's largest online lender, how much money do you make? And you plug this in, well, it matters how it comes to you.
Sure.
Is it all salary? Is it commission? Is it bonus? Coming directly from the employer or through a temp agency, Dave?
Well, so in the conversation, given this week was a lot of pre-approvals at Accunet, and so talking through the reasons why rock solid, the topic that I keep bringing up and up and up and up is buying a house is both a financial and emotional decision. Because you get to walk into a house on a Sunday afternoon for an open house, and you're kind of answering the question, do I want to have Christmas here?
Ooh.
And so if we can get the financial part of it lined up, or at least get a head start on all that, it allows you to focus on the emotional, do I want to make dinner in this kitchen kind of thing for the next X number of years.
Well, and how's about this, though? I remember last week we talked about the J.D. Power Mortgage Origination Satisfaction Survey,
Yes.
which is a trademarked thing. According to them, and remember, they're on a 1,000-point scale. Plan ahead. This is one of their tips. Satisfaction among customers who wait until they find a home to look into mortgage options is 92 points lower than those who plan ahead. And I would say that just getting a pat on the butt, credit verified pre-qual from your bank,
which isn't worth the PDF it's not printed on.
There you go. Is not a way to get yourself a lot of peace of mind. All right, so rock solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's the only one that we know of that comes with a $2,000 guarantee. In other words, when David issued that pre-approval yesterday, I was there, in theory, with a checkbook saying, if we made a mistake on this, Mr. Seller, and we can't make good on this pre-approval, Accunet Mortgage will write you, the seller, a $1,000 check to say we were wrong, and also the buyer. So it's $1,000 each if we make a mistake. That's how serious and confident we are in our rock-solid pre-approvals. All right, when we come back after the news, I ground the numbers for the 2016 housing market, and the numbers are impressive. We'll give you the details when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ. It's 10:30 as we welcome in from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom, Colleen Bolin.
Thank you, Steve. Israel's prime.
Find a place to call home without the headache. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Brian Wickert and David Wickert are with us on this Sunday morning. And Brian had a chance to crunch into the 2016 home sale numbers.
I did, and they are impressive. In 2016, there were 17,929 single-family detached homes sold in the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors Multiple Listing System. That's the MLS. These numbers come to us. Courtesy.
How many counties is that?
That was 5 counties, Dave. That's where I have the detailed numbers.
Does that include Racine?
Yes.
Okay.
Milwaukee, Racine, Washington, Ozaki, and Waukesha.
Got it.
That's also known as the Milwaukee Metropolitan Statistical Area.
Because Kenosha is part of Chicago, apparently.
Yes, it is. By the way, if you add up the value of all those homes, $4.17 billion with the B dollars. By the way, that almost 18,000 home sales is 1,007 more than what's sold in 2015. That's a 6% increase. Meanwhile, the number of listings were down in 2016 by 890 or 3.7, right? So if the number sold, that's called demand, went up by 6, and the supply went down by 3.7%, that's about a 10% spread. David, did you ever take a economics class at the University of Minnesota?
I believe that's called supply and demand. I would hope that the prices of those homes went up.
Prices did go up.
Okay, good.
The median price, that's where half were above and half were below, was $199,900, which was $9,900 higher, or 5.2% higher in 2016 than in 2015. Remember last week we talked about the Federal Housing Finance Agency, which is a much more accurate reading of home price appreciation, and that came in at 4%.
And that's because if the same house sold in 1999 and then sold in 2016, they're measuring the same house.
They're measuring the same house twice, whereas the median sales price doesn't take into account bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage of the homes that were sold. But still, let's call it 4 to 5% price appreciation in southeastern Wisconsin. What about the condo market? The condo market in southeastern Wisconsin was even better than the single-family detached market. Number of condos was up 320. There was a total of 3,772 condos. That's a 9.3% increase in the number of condos sold. Meanwhile, the listings were down 6%, so that's an even greater gap, a 15% gap between supply and demand. Professor Wickert, would you expect
I would hope so. And they keep building new condos, too, so we're just adding to that stock as well.
Well, although apparently not at enough of a pace, because median prices for condos were up 6.8% in 2016. Rise, if I told you, so to the nearest 10,000. So we just said that the single-family home price was 200. Hazard a guess at what you think the median sales price was for condos.
180.
150. I was surprised at that gap.
Really?
Yeah. The other thing that always surprises us, and we've got a lot of mortgage professionals that listen to this show, hey, 30% of buyers paid cash for their condo in 2016.
Oh, for their condo?
Yeah, for their condo versus 16% for single family.
Well, it's $50,000 less house that you're swinging.
That's true. And by the way, the cash buyers for single family detached, I ran this number, paid on average 94% of the last listing price, so they got a 6% discount. And
so that'd be like on a $200,000, you're paying cash for like
188.
Okay.
188. And then for the people that financed with a 30-year fixed rate, which comprised 6 out of 10 home buyers in 2016, they paid 98%. So they only got a 2% discount on the sales price when they finance.
So if you're a seller and you want to make 4% more on the sale of your home compared to a cash buyer,
there you go.
I'm just saying, like that's.
Is this guy a mortgage marketer or what?
That's $8,000. Okay,
that's a really interesting point. Yeah, the cash buyer is the most attractive.
Well, but is it?
Well, not if you have a rock solid pre-approval, Dave. Because then we're making you the next best.
I know, but it's self-serving, but if I'm the seller, I'm going to take a flyer on the people who can deliver and give me $8,000 more first, because the guy with cash, his cash isn't going anywhere.
Well, that's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point. But you got to be careful with that. And we are actually making progress. We talked about this a couple months ago on our seller's offer scorecard, where you can rank different offers. I might use that as I'm acting as a buyer's agent, by the way. Today, because I have to present the offer. Remember I said the seller's for sale by owner? So one of my duties as a licensed broker is I have to fairly and objectively present the offer that we're hopefully going to make. And one of the good things about that offer is these folks are first-time buyers, so they have no home to sell.
Hey-o.
That is like the queen of clubs in terms of attractiveness.
When we come back from this next break, can you talk about the millennial couple who couldn't decide if they wanted to lock or not?
Yes, we'll tell you whether they won or lost on that gamble when we come back.
Here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour on 620 WTMJ.
Don't break the bank to get into a house. Back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
So where do race relations stand here in the Milwaukee area as we head into 2017? What's been done to improve the relationship between African Americans and law enforcement? Don't miss this week's WTMJ Conversation series featuring the president of the Milwaukee chapter of the NAACP, Fred Royal, as he sits down with our Belinda Babinick, coming up here at 11:07 this morning. Right now, it's the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on WTMJ, and we're up to the millennial couple that was saying, oh, do we want to lock in our rate before the New Year's weekend or wait?
Yep, and, I presented them with the three options like we always do. And the options were 3.875 with like $5,000 of closing costs, 3.99 with about $2,000. This was out of state, not in Wisconsin, so the closing costs are higher. So that was with no points. Or 4.125, where we could pick up $3,000 of their closing costs. And boy, they just wanted to talk it over and talk to some people or friends or something. And so then on Tuesday when we reopened, they emailed and said, okay, we decided we want to lock them all in. Well, guess what? The market had changed. The market had changed, and now the closing costs were going to be $542 higher across the board.
I wish I could buy Apple stock at $5 on Friday, and it opens up at $100 on Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they said, well, okay, no problem. We still want to go ahead.
Okay.
Luckily, then, this is nothing but pure luck, folks. And I always tell people this. I didn't know they could have just as soon have been better on Tuesday, but they just happened to be worse. But then all of a sudden, in the middle of the day, we got a little bit of a rally, and so they only had to pay $250 more. So in between the time that they emailed me and I went to actually execute the lock, it had improved a little bit. So they only left $250 on the table. Now, which one do you think they took, though? I said they come back to the number 3.
Oh, I bet they took the trophy rate at 3.875.
No, they didn't, but they did gravitate towards the 3.99. And I was just wondering if I would have put that out there at 4. Do you think
they would have picked the 3.875?
Oh, they would have. Okay. Yeah, the power
3.99 is so much more attractive than 4.
But here's the deal, though, man. It's going to take them, and I pointed this out as many times as I could without trying to beat the drum, too loud or make them feel like I was trying to steer them. It's going to take them 8.25 years to make back the upfront cost. Because remember, they're leaving $3,000 of our money on the table.
Yeah.
In order to take that 3.99. It only makes a difference of $30 a month, and they're talking about borrowing $280,000. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it ain't much. Nope. And maybe I'll talk to their financial advisor, because that's how I got introduced to these folks and see what he thinks. But it's the power of the number 3. They're never going to be there to see that savings, I don't think.
Correct.
But that's what we do. And by the way, in that J.D. Power survey of satisfaction, one of the areas of dissatisfaction, let me see if I can pull that up real quick because it was really kind of interesting. One was when they hadn't gotten pre-approved, right, when they kind of waited to the last minute.
When they already had a fish on the line.
Yep.
Now I'll start working on the mortgage side of things.
Another area or their advice is choose a lender based on their merits, not just on price or affiliation. This is advice from J.D. Power to home shoppers. Customers who say they chose their lender primarily because of price and rate or based on the recommendation of a realtor or builder are significantly less satisfied. Among those who regret their lender decision or selection, and remember, 1 out of 5 borrowers, home buyers in this survey, nationwide survey, said they regretted who they picked for their lender. And when you drill that down onto first-time home buyers, 1 out of 4, okay, because a lot of them are just going on price. Maybe they're just going with their bank, with the flimsy pre-approval.
My objection to that is if only because maybe they didn't know what they didn't know when they started the home buying process,
Exactly.
and somehow that's the mortgage guy's fault.
Yeah.
But okay.
Well, maybe
perception is reality.
There
That's fine.
So check this out. This is what I wanted to get to. Among customers who regret their lender selection, 72% indicate they were pressured to choose a particular mortgage product. Doesn't that blow you away, David?
How?
I don't know. 72%. So, I tried, that's why I kind of mentioned this. I tried not to pressure them.
Is it because they're only given one option? That's how they're pressured.
That's people really like, and this is our proprietary little comparison tool that I came up with myself out of Excel in 1999 to show door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, and just like we talked about with this millennial couple. Hey, do you want the 3/8? Or we could show them a 20-year versus a 30-year.
Right.
3 clear options with all the details. So to me, that just shocks me so much that people would feel pressured into a particular selection. We try to lay out the numbers, point out the advantages.
How do you want your
disadvantages.
steak? Well done, medium?
So I'm going to try. You test me, Dave. I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut and let these people close at the 3.9.
Okay.
Even though I don't think it's good. All right. When we come back, we'll do a little rate roundup. Rates are a little bit better. And also tell you about a really smart home buyer up in Green Bay who did something, well, I'll just say it again, really smart when we come back.
Here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Expert advice on buying a home. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And we're up to the point on the show where we take a look at the rates you might be able to get out there.
Rates are fantastic still in the historical perspective of things. David, do you want to give us the quick rundown?
Absolutely. Okay, so on a 30-year fix with 25% equity and all the other right stuff, including escrowing for taxes and a qualifying credit score of 740 or above, Accunet could deliver, again, 3.99% with an APR of 4.02. That's with regular closing costs of $1,100.
Wow, that's good. So a little relief.
So bad.
The fever has broken.
Absolutely. And if you prefer the no closing cost option, that's 4.125% on the 30-year fixed. That's my personal preference. Is the
as we just
no
discussed.
Closing cost option? Yeah. That's just me. And then I think I pointed out earlier with the rise in rates that the spread between fixed and ARMs is growing. So just as a point of reference, if you think you might not be in your house for very long, Accunet could deliver a 7-year ARM at a rate of 3.625%. That's with an APR of 3.89. So you get a little bit spread, but the difference in the payment's only $42 a month.
All right, so more emotional than practical.
Correct. But as you said about the Florida couple, sometimes it's they want the rate.
Interestingly, though, as millennials, I offered them an ARM. Nope, they don't want an ARM.
Okay.
Or because a 10-year ARM's another option. All right, what about the 15-year and the 20-year?
Sure. So on a 15-year fixed with regular closing costs at the end of business on Friday, Accunet could deliver 3.375 on the 15-year with an APR of 3.41.
Okay. That's nice and low.
Yeah.
Down from about 3.5
absolutely.
before. So rates are about an 1/8% lower, we're saying,
across
the board.
Correct. So, and then on the 20-year, which I think, were you calling this the equity
equity builder?
Mm-hmm. The additional forced savings plan, Accunet could deliver a 20-year fixed at 3.875. APR is 3.91 with just $600 in closing costs.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a good option for refinancers. They can't reach all the way. They don't want to stomach the much higher payment on the 15-year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're 5 years into it. Let's shave off.
Well, and as I always say, you can pay it faster if you want,
true.
as if it's a 15.
Hey, so, David Wickert, millennial loan consultant, isn't the only David Wickert in the world. His uncle David up there in Green Bay, what's the game time temperature going to be today?
6 degrees, I think.
6, maybe it's going to warm up all the way to 10.
I feel like negative 10.
Faithful listener to the show, and his son, my nephew, David's cousin, Steve, is a rock-solid pre-approved buyer. And Steve was going to look at a short sale or foreclosure, REO, real estate owned. It was a foreclosure property, and it seemed like a bargain up there in the greater Green Bay area. But Steve, hats off to Steve, took with him a home inspector who volunteered to do this prospectively at no charge.
Nice.
And just kind of went through the house with them and warned them off and said, dude, do not buy this house. There are problems with the basement. Don't get involved in this. Lots of other buyers had looked at it and passed. Like house flippers.
Got it.
And said, nope, sorry. So kudos to nephew Steve for not being enticed. And that's very common for first-time home buyers to say, you know what, I think I want to get a deal on short sale or foreclosure. You can be buying yourself a whole bucket of trouble. So
smart to walk through with the
right, because
contractor
otherwise,
beforehand.
If you do it the other way around, and
you already got
this out on the show, now you got to pay the guy $400 to do the inspection. You might have to then call in a structural engineer or basement expert
just to get out of the contract
in order to get out. Right. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Very grandfatherly of you.
Yeah, I didn't make that up. All right, so we also had the jobs report this last week, which came in showing a little bit of a wage inflation.
Yes.
And that does nothing but bolster the Federal Reserve's case or mindset that the economy is healthy enough to probably raise rates. The median forecast of the voting members was 3 more times in 2016. So while we're enjoying this little dip in rates, there's still time to refinance. Remember, your home equity line of credit rate is going up in January because the Fed did raise rates. But more importantly, if you're sitting there on the sidelines now with your house and you're thinking about listing, list it now. We are here to tell you from the front lines of mortgage lending and real estate, there is high demand on the part of buyers. We're issuing lots of pre-approval letters, and the real estate professionals we're talking to and the statistics would show you there's not enough homes listed right now for sale. So great time to get on the market. Be sure you get it in good shape. Of course, Accunet Realty Advisors can help you find an appropriate realtor to list your home for sale, or even though I won't be your personal buyer's agent, I can help you find a really good one, because that is important to draft that contract correctly. And we're happy to walk you through that pre-approval process. Anything else, Dave?
I would just emphasize that going into 2017, if you can get a head start on your homework on the pre-approval side, heaven forbid the purchase experience is a pleasurable one.
What do you mean, heaven forbid? You mean you want your
No, but to your point on the survey, people are stressed out when they're trying to buy a house. And so if we can iron that out ahead of time, then you can go look for a house without the lingering question of, like, can I afford to buy this house?
Swing this,
right, correct.
And to your point, the guy that we're talking about, who I am helping as the buyer's agent, he happens to be in the accounting trade, so he was worried about the amount of time he's going to have to invest in this home buying process. I'm like, you're already done.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you like this house, write an offer on it, because if you don't, what's going to take most of your time is looking at more houses.
Correct.
Once you have the place under contract, the only other investment of time is going to the home inspection, so not a lot there. We are delighted that we will be back with another show next week, Steve. Until then, visit us at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
You've been listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ. Colleen Boland joins us next from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom.
The preceding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show are solely that of the hosts or guests of Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors, and not WTMJ Radio or Scripps Media Incorporated.